Hello and welcome to another episode of the NBA Outlet Preview Series presented by OTGBasketball.com. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With me, as always, Harris Wichard. What's up, Harris?
Doing pretty good tonight, Nick. Excited to be back on. Today we look at the 2016 of our preview ranking in the NBA this upcoming season. Number 26, the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, number 26, the Nuggets come in. Like we mentioned, our writers came up with these rankings. So I ask you, Harris, do you agree with the Nuggets being ranked 26th?
Yeah, I think this is fair. I think you could flip-flop maybe the Suns and them too. This is not a very good basketball team. It's a young team. They have several players in that 20, 21, 22 area, like we spoke about with these other teams at the bottom. So, again, a team fighting to try to get out of that 27 to 30 win plateau that they've had since Melo's gone. And since Melo's gone, they actually had a couple teams, even when like Felton was there and Chandler and Gallinari, and we'll speak about their two scorers, but they had an opportunity for a while to look like they were out of it. And a few years ago, played the Warriors in the first round and had 57 wins. And so they're not that far. They're going to have to work some pieces around and still struggling after that Melo deal. But this is a team that, with some young pieces, has an opportunity to get better. But, yeah, I think this is a fair ranking for them right now.
Yeah, they'll be in the bottom third of the NBA, but you mentioned it, move those pieces around. There's a lot of young assets, young talent on this roster. Like you mentioned, they got Chandler, Gallinari, Fareed, veterans on pretty good contracts. So, you definitely could see the Nuggets make a splashy trade because they have the assets to do that. And the talent just needs to develop. And they're looking good going forward. Don't be surprised. This season they may struggle, but going forward, this could be definitely a playoff team with the assets. If they
33 wins last year, so I misspoke. They won a couple more than I thought. And with what I think is 5 guaranteed playoff spots in the West, the Warriors, Spurs, Thunder, Clipper, and Blazers, I think those last 3 spots are open for teams like the Timberwolves, Pelicans, Nuggets, Kings, Jazz almost made the playoffs. So with those first 5 spots on lock for the most part, unless, barring an injury, this is a Nuggets team that can stay around a little while and see what happens. I mean, 33-49 is not terrible. They were 18-23 at home. So then one of their major issues is the defensive end. And Fareed does his best, and they have some bigs inside. We spoke about Jokic before and Nurkic, and they have some bigs. But I think interior defense and even some perimeter defense with some of their guards has been an issue in the past. But they play fast. They play the mile high. They go up and down. They score it. Gallinari and Chandler are active wings that could score in many different ways, 6'8" and 6'10", so they're tough to defend. Very similar, but at the same time, different styles. Gallinari will stretch you out a little bit more. As Knicks fans know, he can shoot the 3. And Chandler will get inside and slash a little bit more. So a couple decent scoring options. If they can get anything from Moutier in his second year, they can make some noise, the Nuggets.
Yeah, Moutier, Jokic, like Nurkic. They got a lot of young talent. Gary Harris, too, another guy. So going forward, the Nuggets will be a fun team to watch. They didn't really make any free agent acquisitions this summer, but they did have a nice little draft for themselves. They picked themselves. They drafted Jamal Murray, Juancho Hernan Gomez, Malik Beasley. So 3 young pieces. Jamal Murray coming out of Kentucky gives them that shooting that they need. What do you think of the other picks? What do you think of Murray? You like this draft for the Nuggets?
Hernan Gomez is a project. He was taken in round 1, pick 15. The Nuggets had 2 picks within 5 picks in the first round. So they had a first-round pick in Gomez at 15, the big man from Spain. Don't know a ton about him. Forward, 6'9", 230. Don't really know his style of play, but it's a project to begin with. He's only, 20, 19 years old. And Malik Beasley from Florida State, the athletic 6'5" wing. So 2 young athletic pieces, and then you spoke about Murray from Kentucky, a guy that the nation knows a little bit more about as the 7th pick. So they had 3 first-round picks, so they're adding some talent to the roster, and all guys like around the age of 19 and 20. So they're going to have an opportunity to play right away. This isn't one of those rosters. I mean, maybe outside of Chandler and Gallinari, 2 guys will probably start the 3-4 respectively, but this isn't one of those rosters that you have guaranteed veteran starters. I mean, Mike Miller's been in the league 16 years and Nelson 12 years, but these aren't guys that are going to make much of an impact unless Jameer Nelson goes to the hot tub time machine from his Orlando days and Mike Miller turns the clock back to when he could walk without a cane. So this is going to be an interesting situation here because they're going to have some rookies that are going to get minutes right away probably.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, don't be surprised if they make a trade, some of those veteran guys, so they can get this young talent some playing time. And this, this just adds to the assets that Nuggets already have. So more young talent in there. So, I mean, they're doing the right moves going forward, and they're setting themselves up for success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a Nuggets fan, being that in 2012, 2013, they were basically the team that introduced us to the Warriors the way we know them now. And in that series, the Nuggets were the favorites in that series just 3 years ago. So they could get back. They have the potential to get back to that level. Probably not this season. I think they're going to be around the bottom and in the 20s. I think they'll finish the year. When we do our power rankings at the end of the year, I think you'll see the Nuggets a little higher than 26.
Yeah, with all the young players they have, I think they're going to get better, especially with more experience. But talking about the rest of their offseason, they did re-sign Darrell Arthur and Mike Miller, who you mentioned before. 2 veteran guys that kind of harness this young talent, give them some players, show them professionalism in the NBA. But other than that, not much of an impact.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to who needs to step up. I want to, excuse me, I want to ask you this question. Which of the returning player you think needs to be even better than he was last season?
You know what? I'm going to go with Moutier to take that next step because I think, the team goes as he goes. He's a point guard. He leads the ship. He has all these talented players. And, if he can do a little better job shooting the ball, which he did in the later part of the season, and take care of the ball a little bit better, he's looking good at the point guard position. That's exactly what the Nuggets need when they got these big talented guys and they got these wing players that can score the ball.
I like Moody. I like that pick, but I got to go with someone different. I'm going to say my man Kenneth Faried right here out of Newark, New Jersey. I'm not sure who this man is. I mean, at times he looks like a freak of an athlete, one of the best rebounders in the league, and then at times he's nowhere to be found. I mean, he's a very inconsistent piece for them. He only plays 25 to 27 minutes a game. He's going into his prime at 26 years of age. This is a first-round draft pick to get from Morehead State. Some people remember him from the NCAA tournament at Morehead State. And, they still got him under contract. He's 6'8", 220, and he's an athletic freak at times. I know he can't really shoot the ball, but his field goal percentage is high. He doesn't take a lot of shots. His shot attempts have gone down the last couple of years, but his activity level is amongst the best in the league. And especially in the mile high, when he gets going up and down and he gets energy into that arena and the other players on the roster, the team, they could go a little bit. So I'm looking for him to take another step, add a couple points a game. He's been a 9-8 rebound a game guy. If he could go 14 and 10 and lead this young group at 26 years old, I think they could win a couple more games than people think. I need Kenneth Faried to take that next step.
Yeah, Faried kind of had a letdown season last year. I think he had some good work with Team USA, and everybody was kind of expecting him to take that next step in his NBA career. But like you mentioned, he's a little bit limited offensively, but he brings that energy, that hustle that every team needs. His contract's looking a little bit better with the salary cap going up. His name's always been mentioned on the trading block, so he could be a guy in the move. But like you said, that extra edge that he can bring to a team definitely could help them get a few more wins.
Absolutely. And, with that reckless abandon, it's going to only encourage younger guys. You need certain guys on the roster to set a tone. I've always respected Gallinari and Chandler for their professionalism. I know they've had some bad injuries, but those guys usually show up too. So Faried, Gallinari, Chandler, Moutier, those 4 guys, and they'll start one of the European bigs probably. But just from that alone, those guys will compete on most nights. It was a 33-win team, and if they get everything rolling in their favor, I wouldn't be surprised if they push that win total up a little bit more.
Well, I think the big issue for Chandler and Gallinari is just staying healthy.
Yep.
Chandler missed the whole season. Gallinari missed a good chunk of the season. So both those guys and a lot of players on this team, they just need to stay healthy. And if they're healthy, they're a talented team. I don't know. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but they'll be competitive night in, night out.
So with that being said, I ask you, is this team going to be better or worse than they were last season?
I don't think they'll be much better in the win column, but I think they're going to be a better team. Just because, these young guys are in their second year, third year, they're going to take that next step and become a better player. So I think the Nuggets will be a little bit better this season. What do you think?
I'm going to say right around the same. I think because I look at it just as win total. I know they'll develop some younger guys, and that's all great and well. But I think with some injuries, if they can get some breaks, there's a lot of big ifs for me on this roster and this team. But I think right around the same. Who's head coaching them this year?
Mike Malone.
Right, and they seem to like him from Sacramento. They had issues with the previous coaches here. So Malone at the helm, I think he has them going in the right direction, but I think they'll be right around the same as last year.
Yeah, this season really I don't think is that huge for them. They just need to develop that talent. So that's the most important thing.
Right. So I think they finish like right on the outside looking into the West. They finish our power rankings a little higher, maybe 23, 24. But I still think there'll be a few games out of the Western Conference playoff picture. They'll stay around for a while. They'll play well at home. They'll beat some teams. I mean, they beat the Warriors last year. They were one of the 9 teams to beat the Warriors last year. And I remember that game at home. It was a wild game in Denver. So they'll steal some games from some tough teams, tough opponents. But in the grand schemes of things, this is a team that still has a lot of improvement to do, and they're very young and inexperienced.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they'll probably finish in the bottom third of the league. Not going to make the playoffs, but the future is bright for this team. Talking about the future, are you going to watch this team on League Pass in the future?
Yeah, I definitely will. I mean, I like Moutier. I think he's athletic. He needs to work on his jumper a little bit more. But Gallo and Chandler are 2 guys that people from New York gave it their all when they were here. And Fareed, obviously, with his style, they got some good bigs, some good rookies. And I'm telling you, this team plays really well at home. And I know it's probably a little bit of an advantage to them because of the climate situation, the altitude. But 18 and 23 last year, they'll probably be something like 23 and 18. They'll flip it and be at home this year and win a few more. I'll tune in. I'll watch this team. I think they're going to compete most nights. Again, I said I'll make my win prediction a little bit, but I'll tune into the Nuggets this year.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely catch the Nuggets game. I want to see how that talent's working out. Like you said, Moutier, Jokic, Nurkic, Gary Harris, draft picks from this year. Want to see how this team progresses. Yeah, well, now we're on to one of our favorite segments from last year. We're doing it again this year, The Truth. We're going to pick our emoji for the Nuggets today. What's that emoji, Harris?
We're going to go with the smiley face with the mouth open. I think there's going to be some Nugget fans that are pleasantly surprised. I know we've been a little bit down on the fact that they might not win more games, but I think there's something going on in Denver that has potential. I think they're going to pleasantly surprise. I could see them going on stretches. They win 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7. So we're going to stick with the smiley face, mouth open as a surprise around the league, because there are going to be some nights when people are going to start paying attention to the Nuggets again. So our final predictions on the Nuggets are where are you at win-wise?
Win-wise, I'll probably they'll stay around that 33-30 range. The West is still tough, even though they lost some talented teams out there. I think it's still going to be hard for them to get close to the playoffs.
I'm going to give them 34. I'll give them one more than last year. I think they'll go 34-48. I know I said some things as far as their development goes, and we think they're progressing. So I got the Nuggets at 34, and I think they'll finish the season strong. They'll have some fresh legs, some young bodies, and they'll win some good home games. So I got the Nuggets at 34-48.
Sounds good. Nuggets fans, let us know what you think in the comment section. Message us on Twitter at OTG Basketball. But that wraps it up for this episode. On to our next team.